Well, now it's time for some good news. Some really cool news here, which I think it's good news. There has been a recent announcement for Jill Stein's campaign that is not only going to benefit her campaign, but I think this is really going to make a movement spread further in this country and lead us onto a different type of path. And I am so excited for her that this is happening for her campaign. And it definitely sends a message that this went to her and not Kamala and not Donald Trump. This was the announcement. U.S. elections 2024. Abandon Harris endorses Green Party's Jill Stein. Endorsement of Stein and Butch Ware comes as Muslim channels anger over U.S. support for Israel into third parties. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. This is a big one for Jill Stein's campaign. We're talking about an organization of Muslim voters that not only organized to abandon Biden in the beginning, but then we'll get into the details, a switch to abandon Harris and have created a larger movement. And I got to tell people again, this is why abandon Harris is so different from the uncommitted movement. The uncommitted movement, the leaders had already planned to support the Democratic Party regardless. That was always the plan. They just didn't want Joe Biden. So when Kamala Harris was selected to be the nominee, and I keep saying selected just to remind people, nobody voted for her. At that point, the uncommitted went to Kamala and said, hey, can we get a ceasefire and an arms embargo? And apparently there were some things she said to them behind closed doors that made them believe that she was open to an arms embargo. But as we saw as time went by, that was not the case. And those leaders are still begging her on social media, please, please, please. It's really sad. I told you before, it gave me Keith Sweat vibes. Whereas Abandon Harris from day one was like, nah, bruh. Abandon Harris from day one was like, we are not about that life. Number one, we're not beggars. We have demands. We're going to make demands to you. And either you meet those demands or we're moving on to something else. But we're not going to sit here and beg you and, please, 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 please. No more baby come back moments. No. So huge for Jill's campaign. And I do want to go ahead and show you their statement here. Again, I thought this is huge news. It really sends a strong message to the Democratic Party, by the way. We're talking about the fact that Kamala Harris's campaign did not receive the endorsement from the Teamsters. Well, neither did Trump's campaign. Also did not receive the endorsement from the firefighters union. And now is not receiving an endorsement from Abandon Harris. We're talking about Muslim voters who heavily supported Joe Biden's campaign and brought him toward victory in a state like Michigan. Abandon Harris campaign endorses Jill Stein and Butch Ware for 2024 presidential election. The path to justice is long, painful, and difficult, but it is ours to pave and to follow. And I want to show this release here. Hopefully everybody can see that pretty well. In October 2023, under the darkening shadow of the U.S.-backed Israeli project of Palestinian annihilation, the Abandon Harris campaign, formerly Abandon Biden, was born. Our movement remains dedicated to ensuring that the American people, especially Muslim American community, recognize the responsibility we share in standing up against oppression and using all of our power to stop genocide wherever it may arise. We have consistently emphasized the importance of utilizing every available tool to resist injustice, with voting being a critical element. While voting alone is not the solution to our pursuit of truth and justice, it is a powerful tool that must be wielded ethically. As Claudia de la Cruz often reminds us, your vote is your consent. A vote is not just a political act. It is more profoundly a moral one. With this in mind, the Abandon Harris campaign officially endorses Dr. Stein and her running mate, Butch Ware, for 2024 presidential election. We are not choosing between a greater evil and a lesser evil. We are confronting two destructive forces, one currently overseeing a genocide and another equally committed to continuing it. Both are determined to see it through. We call on Muslim Americans and all those who stand firmly against the genocide to vote for the Green Party in 2024. The path to justice is long, painful, and difficult, but it is ours to pave and follow. Says they're going to hold a press conference on Wednesday at Henry Ford Centennial Library. This is in Dearborn, Michigan at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. So again, Abandon Harris endorses Jill Stein and Butch Ware for president for 2024. This is huge for Muslim voters, for the Muslim American community, but also for Jill Stein and third parties in general. When I see these things happen, it makes me wonder, what if those of us that are Black voters, what if we all came together and said, sorry, Democrats, we're going to withhold our vote for you unless we get this met. And if they don't do it, then just don't vote for them. Think about what type of power we could actually represent. And I think that's the thing, guys. We got to remember, we are the 99%. I'm not in Congress. Most of you watching are not in Congress unless some of you watching on the sneak. But the reality is there's more of us than there are of them. So why do people continue just to support these people and get nothing in return? So when I see something like this happen, and Abandon Harris also said, and we interviewed them on RBN, they said, you know where they got this from? They said they got it from Black revolutionary leaders. They said that's who inspired them, that they learned from the organizing of Black revolutionary leaders to make demands and to stick with them. And I just keep thinking, any group could do this. Any group can do it. Now, I want to show you how this all began, just in case people are not aware. And I'll make it a little bit bigger so everybody can read along, because I want you to be able to see. And I highlighted this here. They have their own website. You can go to their website. It's called abandonharris.com. I mean, they're incredibly organized. I want to read this highlighted part to you on their website. When Kamala Harris began the presumptive nominee on July 21st, the Abandon Harris campaign came out on July 22nd, issuing a policy ultimatum to the vice president. The Abandon Harris campaign made two demands, just two, fam, two. They were asking for two things: a permanent and unconditional ceasefire consistent with the International Court of Justice, and a full arms embargo against the state of Israel. Two things. The media took the demands of the Abandon Biden campaign to the Harris campaign, and they refused to engage with the Abandon Biden campaign. After 1 month, it became clear that Harris was no different from Biden, seeking to preserve the military dominance of Israel and denying the genocide in Gaza. This part right here. On August 19th, 2024, Abandon Biden became the Abandon Harris campaign, a campaign now seeking to ensure the defeat of Kamala Harris at the battle box. They had two demands, but Kamala Harris decided that her Democrat donors, AIPAC, was more important. And I'm telling you this, and I wanted you to know a little bit about the history, because I want to say this. There are a number of people right now that are going to try to blame you and point fingers at you for voting third party, or try to shame you. How dare you? Or it's your fault, or you're going to cause us to get Trump, or da-da-da. When people point their fingers at you for voting third party, please be sure to show them the information that I just showed you. Please be sure to let them know that Kamala Harris's campaign had every opportunity to do what needed to be done. And she hasn't even promised it, won't even promise it, what needs to be done. And she is the one who decided not to meet those demands. So the American people that are against this genocide, that are against, we're tired of seeing these kids slaughtered, etc. We decided we cannot reward genocide. I told you this, do not reward genocide. All the people who are shaming you for not supporting Kamala Harris, and I say Kamala Harris because nobody is coming to me, shaming me and saying, oh, you're not voting for Trump. You know what I mean? It's the Democrats that are doing this. So all those people that are shaming you for not supporting Kamala Harris, you point your finger back at them and you tell them you need to be speaking to Vice President Kamala Harris. That's who you should be shaming. You should be shaming Kamala Harris for not wanting to end the genocide. You should be shaming Kamala Harris for not wanting to have an arms embargo. You should be shaming Kamala Harris for, and so the so-called black woman, by the way, the so-called black woman, you should be shaming her for showing the American people time and time again that you feel that Israeli lives are more important than Palestinian lives. Her and Tim Walz, every time they sit up there and they always mention the Israelis first and they put the Palestinian people at the bottom of their speech every damn time. Now, Kamala Harris, if you're this black woman, you would know how that feels. You would know how that feels to be put last all the time, to be put at the bottom of the list, to be second tier. So once again, you see another form of supremacy. And I've told you before, you don't have to have a white face to practice white supremacy. In fact, the people who do this the best are the people that you would not expect to do it because they're not white. It is the Kamala Harrises. It's the Richie Torres. It's the Hakeem Jeffries. It's the Jim Clyburns. These are the people that have continued to practice in such a way that allows white supremacy to thrive, whether it is in this country or whether it is abroad. They are complicit with the practices that Israel does. And not only are they complicit with it, they approve of it. And why do they approve of it? Because again, these are the people that they're donors. These organizations are their donors, and that's who they answer to. There's no answering to the constituents. They stopped doing that a long time ago. Malcolm warned you. MLK warned you. They told you these people were coming. And all it took was for someone to put up these coconut emojis, and all these people all of a sudden just jumped on board and said, genocide, what? Oh, we got coconuts. Americans are easily propagandized. There's a lot of foolishness in this country. This endorsement from Abandon Harris for Jill Stein for a third party candidate? I've never seen this. Never. And Jill did issue a response. So I want you guys to hear this as well. Here's her thank you here. Oh, I think I zoomed in too much. Here we go.
Jill here, and I just want to give a very quick shout out and a very deep, heartfelt thank you to Abandon Harris, formerly Abandon Biden. Thank you so much for all you're doing, and especially for your endorsement released today of our presidential campaign. We must vote to end the genocide, which is now enlarging into a major regional war in the Middle East. This is impoverishing us, it's endangering us, and above all, there is a moral imperative right now to shut down this genocide. I'm so thankful to Abandon Harris. You have led the fight to end this genocide from the very start, and you have led the fight for the political means of ending the genocide, which is the only way that we can shut it down, which we must do now. Every vote for our campaign is a shot across the bow of the empire to tell them that their days are numbered. We are organized, we are here to stay, and we are growing stronger.
So that was the thank you there from Jill Stein to Abandon Harris. Again, this sends a strong message to Kamala Harris's campaign. And then I want you to hear what the thinking Muslim had to say, because this is a very good interview. If you have time, please watch the full interview on YouTube, because some of you are wondering, well, what about Donald Trump? Donald Trump will be so much worse. We don't want to go down that road. I want you to hear what the thinking Muslim had to say. Listen to this.
And maybe someone liked this argument, but I want to put it quite bluntly to summarize, because I could list the examples endlessly, but I want to summarize it in this point. Trump is going to be worse than Biden. Let's measure it. What do you mean relative to what happened to the Palestinians? Tell me what is so terrifying that you are willing to forgive the genocide in Gaza. Tell me what scares you so much that you are willing to step over Sidra's lifeless corpse with the legs blown off and say, excuse me, sorry. That you will step over Hind Rajab's cold corpse that was shot at 360 times by the Israelis while she sat in the car waiting for an ambulance that was blown by Israeli tank. That you step over Hind Rajab's body, sorry Hind. That you would step over Reem's body. Tell me what's so terrifying. You step over Reem, Ruh, spirit of my spirit. That you step over the child, you can't identify this child, the head's blown off. You step over them. You step over those 240,000 corpses to get to that ballot box. You step over all of them. You walk by the Palestinian refugees walking by. Where are you going? I'm going to the ballot box. Voting for who? You're too ashamed, embarrassed to say it at that time. You walk to the ballot box. You walk over those bodies, piles and piles of those bodies, drenched in the blood. You see those kids in those images of the hospitals, crushed by the rubble. Their arms are hanging, blood dripping for no other crime than some random people from the West said this land belongs to us. You will walk all over those corpses, go to the ballot box, vote for the one who did it to them, Jalal. Vote for the one who slaughtered them. Vote for the one who massacred them. Vote for the one who continued to lend every impunity to them. Vote for the one who broke the whole international order to slaughter those children, to slaughter our brothers and sisters, to commit the most brutal genocide. You will cross all of those corpses to the ballot box. You will put a cross next to the name of Harris, the one who committed the genocide with Biden. And you will yell to those spirits and say, I did it for you. You will look at them in the eye and say, I voted this for you. You will say that I voted for the one who killed you. I voted for the one who gave the bombs to slaughter you. More bombs than Dresden, more bombs than Hiroshima, more bombs than Nagasaki, more bombs than World War II. I voted for the one who gave unfettered access to all those weapons. I voted for the one who sent the Marines to help kill you. And you would dare to look me in the eye and say you did it for Palestine. You did it for them. The nerve, the sheer arrogance of it. It's not for Palestine. It's for your comfort. It's for your status quo. It's for the luxury that you live. Trump is not going to blow up your limbs. You're not going to have a limb amputated in the next 4 years because there's no anesthesia. You survived 4 years of Trump. You can survive again. 240,000 Palestinians did not survive 4 years of Biden. You survived Trump. You survived it. You didn't have your home taken from you. It wasn't handed to Ben Shapiro. It wasn't given to Ben Walsh. The National Guard didn't ethnically cleanse California of Muslims. They didn't go to the East Coast where it's colder. None of that happened to you in the 4 years. None of that will happen to you in the next 4 years. What are you so scared of? That you will go to the ballot box and say, I'm voting for the genociders. Why would you rescue Zionism? Why would you rescue Zionism when it's buckling? Why would you restore their invincibility when it's breaking? Why would you go to the ballot box and say, Zionism, let me prove to the world that even if they support a genocide, they can still win because no one betrays Zionism? Why would you have the chance to break the two-party system? You go and rescue Zionism.
Why, when you have the chance to break the two-party system, would you go and rescue Zionism? And I think that's the question that we all need to make sure that we hold on to. We need a strong coalition around Jill Stein. And I don't think I've ever seen a third-party candidate getting this much attention, at least since I've been old enough to vote. And I've been calling for this. Like, I've been calling for, you know, just breaking this duopoly, et cetera. And I just want you guys to know, I don't want you to feel like you're going to be ashamed or if you don't go out and support Kamala either way. Right now, Kamala Harris has 77% of Black voter support. She's behind Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden with Black voter support. Why do you guys think the media is trying to hype her up so much? Because she's not where she needs to be with the numbers. Haven't you noticed they're not really talking about the swing states that much anymore? They're mainly talking about, oh, she's ahead of Trump on the popular vote, but they're not talking about the swing states as much anymore because she's not leading in those states the way that she was before. They have to hype her up because she's an empty suit. And people thinking they're going to get something other than Joe Biden, but you're not. And she made that clear on The View. So this is the time, folks. This is the time to rally behind a third party candidate.